One of the biggest differences between aspiring sax players and pro sax players is vibrato. So for example, what do you think sounds better? Vibrato like this? Or vibrato like this? So, on today's video, I'm going to show you some insights into how you can improve your vibrato. Some of the basic stuff and then some of the more sort of tactile stuff. So, straight out the gate, let's cover the basics. What is vibrato? It's when you rhythmically change the pitch of the note. How do you do it? By putting pressure on and off the reed. Now, some of these issues about putting pressure on the reed, I think is why people have issues with their own vibrato, because the concept of applying pressure to the reed can sometimes lead people down the old bleating goat path, the bleating sheep. Right, but that's what it is. Vibrato is changing the pitch rhythmically of the note by taking the pressure on and off the reed. How do you do it? Well, you just squeeze the reed and let go of the reed. That's the basis of what vibrato is. It's nothing to do with volume of the sound. So you're not pulsing your stomach muscles like you might if you were doing flute vibrato. And it's nothing to do with changing the actual tone of the note. You're not altering the timbre of the pitch as you alter the... You're not altering the timbre of the note as you change the pitch. So the tone stays the same and you do not change the volume of the note. So check it out. It's got that full quality. Now here's what would happen if the volume of the note changes instead of the pitch. It would sound like this. That would be like huffing and puffing and blowing the house down, like you're in the story of the Three Little Pigs. This is something that you do in flute, but not saxophone, so continuous volume. And it's only the pitch, and the pitch, as it changes, should be a smooth transition. So think about rolling hills, all right? Rolling hills and valleys instead of cliffs. So the pitch shouldn't go... And if you did that faster... You know, then you get into sort of seal bark territory. So full breath support, rolling hills and valleys in your tone. Now, I've got a little exercise, which is the sort of classic exercise to practice your vibrato. Let me just pull that up for you. Here it is. Bear with me. There we go. So this is the rhythmic exercise. Now, a useful syllable for some people is the sort of sound vo. It's not a syllable, the sound vo. So as you compress and release on the reed, you can kind of imagine it being vo, 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 vo. There's a few things that people focus on when it comes to vibrato, which I think are useful. Number one is to really strongly support the sound with your air column. If you're not doing that, you might struggle with these deviations in pitch and it's going to sound a bit weird. We're going to cover all the stuff about what's going to go wrong just shortly. The second thing, which is in tiny writing up there, this is all from both Phrase Like a Pro and my Total Tone Mastery courses. Try and keep the changes in pitch smooth and consistent throughout the sound. And as the pitch goes down, don't let the volume decrease, like we've already covered. Now, the third thing is something that we're going to go into in a bit more depth today, and that is to try and connect the vibrato to the bottom of your breath. Now, that's a kind of obscure concept which might sound confusing, but we're about to delve into that. And another thing that people often say is in the first case to kind of squeeze the reed and then let go. Don't start by dropping the pitch. So squeeze first and release. Now, as you do this in time and you think about that vo, 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 vo type approach, it should come out sounding like this. And then the idea is to speed it up until it becomes more fluent, but don't speed it up until you get into that bleating sheep zone. So let's speed it up a little bit more. If you get too fast and you go beyond the point at which it sounds musical, you're going to get into sheep bleating territory. So here's it a little bit faster. We're still not in the sheep bleating territory yet. You know, that sounds pretty good. That could be the kind of vibrato that you use in more of a kind of swing, Glenn Millery, that's easy to say, Glenn Millery type situation. If you then take it too fast, then you're into the sort of chattering teeth, hypothermia sort of bleating sheep territory. And that is what you find all too common with aspiring saxophonists, is that very fast vibrato. So that's what I want to delve into now. This is one of the biggest things that you hear with aspiring saxophonists. It's this vibrato that completely ruins and undoes all the other good things going on with their playing, because it just sounds so... It just doesn't have that lovely vocal quality that we're looking for in a saxophone. So I'll do it again so that you get an idea of what I'm talking about. And there's a few things about this type of vibrato. Number one, it's typically a habitual thing that people don't know they're doing. They can't turn it off, and it just comes out without them knowing it. So that's why I call it habitual. It's something that's baked into the pie of what they're doing, but they don't know they're doing it and they've got no control over it. So if that's you, put up your hand, and this video is going to really help you out. The second thing about this type of vibrato is it feels like it's being generated completely erroneously. It feels like the way I'm doing vibrato and the way you might be doing your vibrato, if you sound like that, is completely different. So let's explore that. So when I'm doing vibrato, now, before I explain what I'm doing, I don't want to waffle too much in this video, but I do really want to keep things real and try and give you some really helpful information without just saying, hey, wobble your jaw up and down, do this rhythmic exercise, and you're going to get a great vibrato. Because I've taught that to people, and some people, it doesn't work like that. So I'm going to give you some new approaches, some new nuances that you might not find elsewhere. First of all, when you say to compress and release the reed, we often say to treat your jaw as one unit. I've got a little diagram here. So think about your whole jaw going up and down. Now, this is a weird thing to say because you can't actually move, let's just get rid of that. You can't actually move your lip up and down on its own anyway. You have to move your whole jaw. But it's a kind of conceptual thing. It's a conceptual thing that you move your whole jaw as a unit, and it kind of stops this nervy type vibrato that we sometimes get. So move your whole jaw as a unit. But sometimes I teach that to people and they still get that nervy vibrato. And I think it's because people are focusing on their lip too much. So you think about moving your lip up and down, and somehow the motion isn't connected all the way down to the bottom of your breath and through your vocal tract and throat. So I want you to try something different. Instead of concentrating on this part of your anatomy, your lip going up and down to create the vibrato, I want you to concentrate on the part under your chin going up and down. I want you to try think about this part here going up and down instead of this going up and down. So this is just thinking about from the lip. And what ends up happening is that your lip pinches the reed and it constricts the sound, it changes the tone, and it changes the volume, which gives you this undesirable vibrato, that very kind of sheep-like bleating vibrato, the one that we're trying to avoid, that one. So instead of focusing there, try now moving this part of your, generate that movement in your jaw from underneath here, from underneath your chin. Instead of, which tends to pinch off the sound. Now, again, at the risk of being overly waffly, this ties into, once you really start delving deep into saxophone pedagogy and teaching saxophone, you realize that everything, just like nature, is all interconnected. Now, one of the reasons that you might have this weird bleating vibrato is because you're not dropping your jaw and voicing the saxophone sound low enough in general. Now, when I say low enough, I just mean dropping your jaw, and I'm going to use a very vague term here of opening your throat. A good saxophone sound, you've got this kind of dropped jaw, open throat sound. Now, I know a lot about the anatomy of your larynx and your throat, but at the moment I'm talking in general poetic terms, just to keep things simple. You want to drop your jaw, and then your throat is nice and open, and your saxophone sound is kind of like this part of your anatomy is kind of lower down, rather than up here pushing on the reed. Your embouchure feeds into this equation, because when your embouchure supports from the side and you've got more of this goldfish shape and everything is going forward and in, that's where the strength of your embouchure is here, not biting up and down. It frees up your jaw to give you that nice smooth vibrato without pinching off the sound. That is why I'm asking you to do the vibrato and drive the motion from underneath your chin, which sounds like a weird thing, but I want you to give it a go. And if you can, think about voicing nice and like dropping this part of your anatomy. It might just improve your whole sound across the whole range. So here we go. I'm going to play a middle F. It doesn't really matter what note you use. I'm going to think about supporting my embouchure from the sides, which frees up my bottom lip to be loose, a bit turned out. You drop your voicing down, open throat, and you're just driving that vibrato from the bottom. But rather than thinking about going from, say, if you imagine that no pressure on the reed at all is 0, and a lot of pressure squeezing on the reed is 100, the impression I get is that a lot of people's vibrato goes from about 50 to 80 in that kind of range, maybe even 60 to 90, which you're already putting a lot of pressure on the reed, and you put even more pressure on the reed to do your vibrato, and it's like choking and strangling the sound. And the only way you can do that is with this nervous, almost involuntary kind of chattering teeth jaw movement. And it sounds like I've already demonstrated. Or it can sometimes get a bit seal barky. So, what was that? That was not a seal. Let's do it. Come on, let's get the proper seal movements going if you're going to do it. So, what we're looking to do instead of that maybe 50 to 70 or 60 to 90 range of pressure on the reed, start around about a 10, let's say, and your vibrato goes from, say, a 10 to a 40 on the pressure on the reed scale. So, let's try that. You're going to do just almost no pressure to a little bit more pressure on the reed, but it's all below a 50 in terms of the pressure you put on the reed, and your embouchures from the side, and you're dropping your jaw, and you're moving from the bottom of your chin. Let's try and open this thing up. And with a really good rich vibrato, there's this sense, which is a little bit intangible, but go with me on this. You can feel this pulsing in your throat. You can feel a pulsing inside your mouth. And it's not a pulsing that happens at the reed. It's further back. Now, Dr. Mark Watkins and I discussed this when he was a guest inside the Inner Circle membership. I guess, quick plug, Inner Circle membership. Go and check out the Inner Circle membership. We have awesome guests like this. So you've got this world authority on the anatomy as it relates to saxophone, Dr. Mark Watkins. You should go and check out his book, Saxophone from the Inside Out. It's absolutely brilliant. And we discussed this, and he agreed that you can feel this pulsing in the back of your throat, which would lead you to believe, hey, the vibrato is coming from lower down in my mouth. But it's not. I think it's probably, although we don't know this for sure, it's probably more that it's a byproduct. You're changing the acoustic pressure inside your mouth when you're doing this, as you're changing the pressure on the reed, and it kind of pulses back into your throat. But that's why I say to try and feel your breath connected to your vibrato in some strange way. Think about your vibrato not being this quavering, lip right next to the reed, but more a holistic, connected thing to the whole column of air. And you're dropping and just going from not very much pressure to a little bit more. But even at the squeezed part of the vibrato, you're not shutting the reed down. That is the important part, okay? Even at the squeezed part of the vibrato, where the pitch will be at its highest, you're not shutting the reed down. So you're not going, which is me squeezing that reed really shut and constricting the sound. It's open and flowing, and you've got this rich, deep, vocal sounding vibrato. So you think about that going up and down, and it gives you that lovely singing sound, which we want. Now, if your vibrato is too fast and you're closing down the reed, you're going to sound, and forgive me for this, I'm sorry to use a triggering term, but you're going to sound beginnery. You're going to sound amateurish if you don't get this vibrato thing right. So that's the big tips on this, is to embouchure from the side. That frees up your lip. Drop the pressure on the reed. Go from about a 10 to a little bit more to get your vibrato. Think about moving the bottom of your chin up. Open throat, connected to your whole breath to keep that big, rich sound flowing throughout. And not too fast so you don't get the old bleating goat sound. Hope you're enjoying today's video. Real quick, did you know that 61% of you who are watching this video are not subscribed to my channel? Now, I make hundreds of videos to help the saxophone community, so if you want to do something nice for me, please just hit subscribe right now. Go on, if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe right now. Do it. That's one easy thing that you can do to really help me out and help me take this message to more and more sax players and make the world a better place. Okay, back with the video. Lots of stuff there, and I know that I've been waffling on, but this is the kind of stuff which is really going to move the needle on your playing. If you sort out your vibrato, you're going to sort out a lot of really important things with how good you sound when you're performing your favorite songs. Because guess what? Vibrato defines genre. The way that you play something, your vibrato defines if it's going to sound old-fashioned. It defines if it's going to sound modern and singing. And it also defines if it's going to sound really weird and jarring, unfortunately. So that is the thing you want to avoid. So before I go, if you really enjoy this type of content, go and check out the free saxophone masterclass, which I've created for you down there. You can see the link, or just click the link in the description. There's a whole load more teaching. You can get a lot of me if that's more of what you want. And it's my free gift to you. Just fill in your email and it's all yours. So help yourself. As I mentioned before, there is a lot more like this inside my Inner Circle membership, which is full of people like you, having fun, learning a lot, being part of a community and benefiting from, hopefully, from my knowledge 30 years as a pro saxophonist. So go and check out the Inner Circle membership. It's really inexpensive and it could really make a big difference to your playing. Right, that is all I've got today on vibrato. I hope it really makes a big difference to your sound. Let me know how you get on in the comments. And until next time, make sure you practice hard, practice smart. That's what I'm all about. And enjoy your music. Take it easy, people. Right, that's it.